Hello everyone, welcome to English. In this lesson, we are going to learn about suggestions. So here we are going to learn how to make a suggestion and how to give positive or negative responses for suggestions other people made for you. So let's get started. First of all, let's see how to make a suggestion. Now there are certain ways that you can make a suggestion. So let's learn them one by one. First one is how about or what about. So when you make a suggestion, you can use how about or what about to make suggestions. For example, you can ask, how about buying a new house? That means you are making a suggestion to buy a new house. Again, in the same way, you can ask, how about going out for dinner? So in this sentence also, you are making suggestions for someone else to go out for dinner. So in that way, you can use how about for making suggestions. The other one is what about. The same way you can use what about as well. For example, you can say, what about painting the house in white? So that means we are suggesting to paint the house in white. Again, you can say, what about having a new member in the committee? That also means you are suggesting someone or the committee to appoint a new member for the committee. In that way, you can use how about and what about to make suggestions. Next one is shall we. Now you can use shall we as well to make suggestions. For example, we can say, shall we go to the playground? There you are making suggestion to go to the playground. Shall we go to the library? Shall we practice the drama? In that way, using shall we, you can make suggestions as well. Third one is let's. Now this is a very simple word to use when you are making suggestions. For example, when you want to suggest go to the hostel, you can say, let's go to the hostel. In another sentence, you can say, let's have sandwiches for breakfast. In another sentence, you can say, let's change these rules and regulations. So in that way, you can use let's to make suggestions as well. Another way to make suggestions is, would you be interested in? Now you can use this term to make a suggestion to someone else. Would you be interested in watching a game tonight? So the meaning of that sentence is you are suggesting someone to watch a game tonight. So to make that suggestion, you have made use of the part would you be interested in. In another sentence, you can say, would you be interested in going out this weekend? This also means that you are making a suggestion to someone to go out in the weekend. In another sentence, you can say, would you be interested in training these students? So in that sentence also, you are making a suggestion to someone to train a set of students. So in that way, you can use would you be interested in the question form to make a suggestion as well. Another way you can make suggestions is using why don't you. Now here you can use why don't you to make suggestions. For example, you can say, why don't you apply for the position? So that means you are making a suggestion to someone else to apply for a position. We don't know whether that person accepts it or not, but we are just making the suggestion. For another example, using the same structure, you can ask, why don't you finish the assignment before the deadline? So in this sentence, we are making a suggestion to someone to finish the assignment before the deadline. So here also, using why don't you, you can make any number of suggestions. For some more examples, you can say, why don't you plan your day in advance? Why don't you select this bag? Why don't you select this book for reading? In another sentence, you can say, why don't you take the train to Colombo? So in that way, you can use why don't you to make suggestions. Another way to make suggestions is, how do you feel about? Now, this question can also be used to make suggestions. So for example, you can say, how do you feel about watching an adventure movie tonight? How do you feel about spending the holiday in a hotel? Again, you can make a suggestion. How do you feel about studying abroad? In such a way, you can use how do you feel about to make suggestions as well. Another way you can make suggestions is asking, do you fancy? Now this is a question that we use to make suggestions. For example, do you fancy having a walk in the evening? Now this is a question, but by asking this question, we are making a suggestion to have a walk in the evening. In another example, you can ask, do you fancy going to see the musical show? That means we are making a suggestion to someone to go to watch the musical show. In other example, you can ask, do you fancy having a party this weekend? So in that way, you can make use of different terms and sentences and questions to make suggestions. So when you are speaking English and when you are making suggestions, you can make use of those questions, sentences and terms to make suggestions for the others. Right, so now you know how to make suggestions. Now we are going to learn how to respond to those suggestions. Now there are two ways of responding to suggestions. You can agree or disagree. That means you can give positive responses, that means you agree to that suggestion, or you can give negative responses, that means you disagree and you say no to that suggestion. Then we are going to learn how to agree or how to say no to those suggestions. First of all, let's see how we can accept or agree to those suggestions. First thing that we can say is when we are in agreement to a suggestion is that sounds like a great idea. So when someone made a suggestion for you and if you are in agreement with that idea, you can say that sounds like a great idea. Again, you can say that's not a bad idea. So if you like the suggestion someone made for you, you can say that's not a bad idea. In another reply, you can say that sounds perfect. That sounds great. Another response that you can give is that would be lovely. In another way, you can say I'm up for it. You can use the term I'm up for it as a short reply. In another way, you can say that's brilliant, or you can say that's a brilliant idea. So in this way, you can accept or show agreement to the suggestions that someone else made for you. So the other aspect is how to reject or how to disagree the suggestions made by others for you. First thing is that when we reject or when we disagree to a suggestion, we have to do it in a more polite way without upsetting the person who is making a suggestion. So because of that, there are certain ways that you have to show your negativity to that suggestion made by someone. Always we have to be careful not to offend or not to upset the person who is making the suggestion. So because of that, we have to respond very carefully for the suggestions that we do not like. For that, we can use these terms. First thing is, you can say, I don't think so. So if you do not like the suggestion made to you, you can just say, I don't think so. And again, you can say, I'm not sure that would be appropriate. There's another way you can show your dislike to that suggestion. Another thing that you can say is, no, I'd rather not. Now this can also be used as a negative response to a suggestion made to you. There's another thing that you can say, which is maybe some other time. By telling that, you're making your idea clear to the person who is making suggestion that you like their suggestion but you don't like it this time. So maybe some other time you can accept the suggestion. So in that way, you can show your negative response to someone without upsetting him or her. Another way you can reject that suggestion is, to be honest, it's not my cup of tea. Now this term can also be used to show that you are not interested in the suggestions that made to you. So in that way, you can reject suggestions made to you by some other people in a more polite way without upsetting the person who made the suggestion. So now you know how to make suggestions, how to reject and how to accept suggestions. When you engage in communication, there are situations that you have to make suggestions, accept or reject suggestions. So in those situations, try to use the sentence patterns and terms. It will make the communication easy for you. So thank you for watching the lesson. Until the next lesson, have a nice time. Take care.